Hello and welcome to the last chapter for this week, which is chapter 19. It's the analysis of consumer behavior and demand. So in this chapter, we will discuss how do we decide how much of any good to buy, and how does a change in the price of the product affect the quantity we decide to purchase and the willingness to spend on it, and why do we buy certain goods and not others. So that is what this chapter is about. So we know about the demand curve is downward sloping. Economists are interested in how consumers' tastes affect the consumption decisions, and that is based on utility. Not everybody goes into the store and say, oh, I get this much utility from this product, but in some unknown way, subconsciously, we do measure satisfaction we derive from a product. So for use, the utility may be different, and it may vary from person to person. So it depends on the individual preferences, and that is what utility is. So the total utility is the total amount of satisfaction we get from consuming a product. Okay, and the marginal utility is the additional satisfaction you get by consuming one more unit. Take an example of consuming pizzas. You're very hungry, you go into the pizza shop, you get your first slice of pizza. It gives you great satisfaction because it has satisfied your hunger and you're happy eating that. Now, for the second slice, you may still be satisfied, okay? But as we go on, the third slice, the marginal utility or the extra satisfaction you get by eating the third, fourth, or fifth, or depending how much you normally eat, and if you eat one more, it'll be less. So marginal utility is the change in total utility divided by change in quantity, and that declines as you consume more and more of the product. So the total utility will rise with your first pizza, your second pizza, your third one, and so on until you plateau out, and then after the sixth or seventh pizza you probably will get a stomach ache and you'll say no more, and you're turned off by it, and your total satisfaction goes down. And that is what the diminishing marginal utility is plotted on this graph. As you consume more and more of a particular good, your utility declines, okay, and hence we are not willing to pay more price for the 10th slice or the 11th slice because you're not getting that much satisfaction. And that also explains why the demand curve slopes downward, because your utility is declining and you're not willing to pay a higher price as you consume, and at a point you might have a negative utility. I mean, it may turn you off completely, and maybe negative rather than positive utility. Okay, so that is the law of diminishing marginal utility. As you consume more and more of one good, it declines, the utility declines in a given time period, holding other things constant. This is the case with Bill Gates. Your first $1 million will make you happy, the second million, the third million, and after you reached a couple of billion, $50 billion, the additional billion is not going to give him that extra satisfaction. So it holds true for almost everything, whether it's money, food, goods, or whatever it is. The more and more you consume anything, the declining utility, the law of diminishing marginal utility. So here you have the price at 50 cents, you demand 1, 2, and at lower prices you can demand more because your utility is declining, so your willingness to pay diminishes along with marginal utility. Hence the demand curve is downward sloping. So at lower prices you're willing to pay less because your utility for that product, let's say a bag of potatoes is $5, and then it goes to 4, 3, and maybe 10 cents for 10-pound bag. Your utility or satisfaction from consuming that extra product is going to decline, and you're not willing to pay that much money because you're not getting that additional satisfaction. So the next thing we move is we determine price elasticity. So what is price elasticity? It simply measures how are you reacting to the price change. Okay, so if the price is from $10, if it falls to $5, are you buying a lot more, or are you sensitive to that price change? Do you suddenly go and stock up, or it does not matter? So price elasticity measures the percentage change. How much did you change as a total percentage in the quantity demanded divided by the percentage change in price. So here you have Q2 is your new percentage. Okay, let me change my pen color and see if I can mark my pen to another color here. So you have the percentage change in quantity demanded. Q2 is your new quantity, Q1 is your old quantity, and you're dividing it by average quantity. So that you add these two and divide by 2, that is your average. So that'll give you the percentage change in this part of the equation. And the same thing you do with the price change. You take the new price minus the old price, then you add up both and divide by 2 to get the average price. Okay, so that is how you measure the elasticity. Okay, so that elasticity measures the responsiveness relative to the price change. So you have in your homework problem, if the price elasticity of demand for iPhones were 2.8, how much would the unit sales have increased if the launch price had been $3.99 instead of $4.99? So we know already a price elasticity of demand in this case, which is 2.8 equals percentage change in QD divided by percentage change in price. So we can calculate the percentage change in price because we know the price is $3.99 instead of $4.99. So it went down by $100 and we divided by the average price. So elasticity of demand measures how the responsiveness of the sensitivity to the price change. So using the midpoint formula, we can calculate the percentage change in price. 100 is the change from $3.99 to $4.99. Divide by average price. How do you get the average price? Take the initial price of $3.99, add the $4.99 and divide by 2, which brings it to $4.49. So we calculated the percentage change to be 22% in price. Now we are trying to figure out X, or the percentage change in quantity demanded. We know 2.8 equals X divided by 2.27. Okay, so we know 2.8 equals X divided by 2.27. Cross multiply both terms. So 2.8 times 2.2 equals X. Okay, so our percentage change in quantity is 62%. That is how you would compute that percentage change. So it simply measures, the elasticity simply measures how sensitive are to price changes. So for products like cigarettes, or if you're a drug user of medicines that you really need, even if the price changes, you will not care. You'll go and buy. You're not sensitive to the price change. Your demand is not going to fall. If it is elastic, your demand will fall. And that would be your luxury goods that you really don't need. And if the price falls, you're sensitive to the price change, the demand will go up. So that is what elasticity measures. Okay, so if your E is larger than 1, demand is elastic. That means for every 1% change in price, your demand changes by greater than 1%. So it changes by 2, means 2 times as much. If elasticity is less than 1, the price changes by 1%, but your demand doesn't change that much. And this would be inelastic demand would be for your necessities. For small budget items, if the salt price goes up, you're not going to, from 45 cents it goes to 80 cents, you're not going to stop buying salt. So, or any of your goods that you're habituated, if you need your medicines or if you need your cigarettes, so demand would be inelastic. So manufacturers would love to have a demand to be inelastic because they can get away with price increases, because they can increase the price and you will not lower your demand. You'll continue buying their product. So when demand is elastic, manufacturers will try to lower the price to you to buy more. If they increase the price, you're going to drop your purchases. So that would be your luxury goods or anything that's sensitive to price changes. So the demand is elastic. It's more responsive. If it's equal, means for every 1% change in demand, you'll have a 1% change. And price change, there'll be a 1% change in quantity demanded. So if your airline travel that is sensitive to price, the elasticity is 2.4. So what does this number 2.4 means? It means that for every 1% change in your price, the demand changes by 2.4%. So let us say the airline prices go up by 1%. So the demand will fall by 2.4 times as much, 2.4%. So, if they lower the price, the demand will go up by 2.4%. So, when demand is elastic, manufacturers would like to lower the price because people are sensitive to price changes and they'll buy more of it. And as soon as they increase price, you lose your customers if your elasticity is greater than 1. And that is true for restaurant meals, 2.3. 1% change in price will affect the demand 2.3%. Fish, new cars, somewhere between 1.2 to 1.5. So now your unitary elasticity means it's the same. Every 1% change you have the same. Basically it's 1.2. It's close. Your shoes, movies, education, and so on. Inelastic is your cigarettes. Even if the price is 1% increase, your demand will not go down or up by 0.4%. Price increases, your demand only falls by 0.4, not by 1%. So manufacturers can get away with price increases when the demand is inelastic. If you're a habituated coffee drinker, even if the price goes up, your demand only falls by 0.3. 1% increase in price will only reduce the demand by 0.3 of a percent. Gasoline, we need it, necessity. So even if the price goes up, you won't stop driving, and your demand only falls by 0.2. And electricity, so these are basic necessities or anything you're habituated, and that's what elasticity measures basically. So an extreme elastic demand curve is perfectly elastic. When it is a horizontal, means at that price you will buy as much as you can. You'll continue to buy the same product at that price, unlimited amounts. That's completely elastic, leads to infinity. Inelastic is no matter how much the price increases, you don't care, you'll continue to buy the product. And in real life, we don't have completely inelastic demand curves where even if the price is like, unless it's for a drug that saves your life, and even if it is $1,000, but usually we weigh the benefit versus cost. So very rare you will find that. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. Okay, extremes elasticity, I did that, and let me move to